What's up, guys? It's Kyle here, and I'll be honest with you today. I'm not in a very good mood. Earlier today, on Thursday, December 14th, at around 1:45 in the afternoon, the FCC voted in a vote of 3-2 to repeal the net neutrality laws that were put in place in 2015, promising us a fair, free, and open internet. Now, upon hearing that news and leading up to the inevitable vote, I'll be honest with you, I had a wave of emotions going through me. I'm sad, I'm disappointed, I'm angry, and most of all, I'm scared. I have never been more scared of the future in my entire life. Because I have been working for the past 5 years to build a foundation for my music and a potential career with a truly free and open internet. But with today's vote to repeal the net neutrality laws that promised exactly that, worst case scenario, I have to start all over again. As of 1:45 this afternoon, there is either no law or almost no laws on the books preventing your internet service provider from charging massive overages to your internet bill, or throttling or blocking your website for ransom money, or outright censoring information. We cannot let this happen. The repeal of net neutrality is unconstitutional. It directly infringes on a person's First Amendment right to free speech and free expression. If you are a small business owner or an artist or a musician like I am, you are going to be hurt the most by this repeal of net neutrality. The internet service providers will have the power to throttle service to anyone who won't pay a premium. They'll call it a premium, I call it ransom, to keep their website running freely. If this ruling stands and net neutrality ends up being repealed, there's a chance that my career and the careers of millions of artists or small business owners will be over. But there is hope. Today's FCC vote cannot be the end of the fight to save net neutrality. We can't let it be. The internet is the lifeblood of our modern society. And we are not just going to sit there and let it die. 83% of all Americans, including most Republicans, support net neutrality. Today's vote was a brazen undermining of democracy in America, where a majority of Americans wanted this vote not to go through, to keep things the way they are, to keep the internet open and free from any intrusion by our internet service providers. And the FCC chose in a vote of 3-2 to completely ignore all of us. If they are successful and net neutrality is repealed, media and internet service providers have almost completely free reign to do whatever they want to the internet. Some of you may have seen the viral picture that a congressman posted. I think it was Ro Khanna. He posted a picture of what internet data plans look like in Portugal, where there is no net neutrality, where you're paying, I think it was like $10 to get access to all of your social media sites, an additional $10 to get all of your video streaming, an additional $10 to get all of your music streaming, and an additional $10 for all of these other tiers. That's just the tip of the iceberg. They have every right to censor information that they don't want. They have, as I mentioned before, the right to hold websites for ransom unless they pay the money to get their website into the fast lane, as people are calling it. And Verizon has already talked about plans to have those fast lanes, and people who cannot pay will end up buffering much slower. This is a piece of legislation that is purely for the profit of the big guys. I have said numerous times over the years to myself and to people around me that I truly believe that the only two forms of evil in the world are money and power, and I base that solely on the fact that people will do anything to anyone, no matter how bad it is, for one of those two things. And that is exactly what happened today. This decision by the FCC was purely based on greed. The FCC Commissioner, Ajit Pai, was set to directly benefit to a yes vote on repealing net neutrality. Ajit Pai used to be a lawyer for Verizon. And do not be surprised if after this whole repeal is done for and the internet is left into the hands of the people who provide it to us as opposed to us, don't be surprised if when he leaves the FCC, he returns to Verizon with a nice cushy job and a nice cushy pay raise. This is a cycle of money and power. This piece of legislation is pure evil. And now, with the repeal of net neutrality, as I mentioned before, media and internet service providers have free rein to do whatever they want to the internet. And the most important part, no one will be able to stop them. One of the provisions of this net neutrality bill is to ensure that the states are not able to pass a law protecting net neutrality. For example, I live in New York, which is a very liberal state. Most of our politicians, as far as I'm concerned, are for net neutrality and have been pushing. My congressman has put forward legislation in the House of Representatives to save net neutrality and stop the vote from going through. Obviously, he was unsuccessful, but he made a valiant effort and said all the right things in order to make sure that this does not happen. But there is, honestly, a provision that prevents states from making their own net neutrality laws. If they want to protect the internet in their state, they have no power to do so. That is a provision that was specifically put into this vote. That is a rule now. And if it stands, the internet is pretty much dead for everyone in this country. Now, I'm not saying that that is guaranteed to happen. I'm not saying the worst case scenario is absolutely going to happen. But if you take those regulations away that prevented the ISPs from playing favorites or throttling down websites because they're not willing or able to pay to be in the fast lane, or outright censoring content just because they don't like it, or they're saying something that makes them uncomfortable. If I am here criticizing Verizon and AT&T for their decisions and what they're going to do with net neutrality, there's a chance that I could be off the internet. There's a chance that you will never see this video again. There is nothing now, almost no laws on the book, to stop that from happening now. Again, I really hope it doesn't. I really hope it doesn't. But you have to face the facts here. It is possible now. We're going to hope for the best, but we also have to prepare for the worst. But like I said before, the battle is not over yet. If you go to battleforthenet.com today, you can fight back. If your congressman or your senator is not on the books in being for net neutrality and against this going through, we have to pressure them into doing exactly that. Go to battleforthenet.com. and they will give you instructions on how exactly to do that. You have to call them. You have to email them. We have to really make our voices heard. There is a way that they can override this if we get enough people on our side. The battle is not over yet. But if we sit idly by and just wait, and just sit here and do nothing about it, the internet is going to be gone, and in a very short amount of time. We have to fight. This is probably one of the most important political battles that you, average citizen, have to take up. And that reason is simply because everybody uses the internet. There are very few people in this country who don't. It is the lifeblood, as I said before, it is the lifeblood of our society today. We cannot let it taken over by a big corporate conglomerate that will cut it into little tiny pieces and then sell it back to us for a profit. We can't let that happen. We have to fight back, and we have to do it now. Go to battleforthenet.com and sign your name. Write your congressman. Call your congressman. Do whatever you can to make your voice heard.